Therefore, rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, kṛṣṇa-sevā, means argued that karma and jnana require a mixture of bhakti in order to be successfully executed. And sometimes it is argued that bhakti also requires karma and jnana for its successful termination. The fact is, however, that although karma and jnana cannot be successful without bhakti, bhakti does not require the help of karma and jnana. Actually, as described by Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī, anyābhilāṣitā-śūnyaṁ, jñāna-karmādy-anāvṛtam. Pure devotional service should not be contaminated by the touch of karma and jnana. Modern society is involved in various types of philanthropic works, humanitarian works, and so on, but people do not know that these activities will never be successful unless Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is brought into the center. One may ask what harm there is in worshipping Krishna and the different parts of his body, the demigods. And the answer is also given in this verse. The point is that by supplying food to the stomach, the indriyas, the senses, are automatically satisfied. If one tries to feed his eyes or ears independently, the result is only havoc. Simply by supplying food to the stomach, we satisfy all of the senses. It is neither necessary nor feasible to render separate service to the individual senses. The conclusion is that by serving Krishna, kṛṣṇa-sevā, everything is complete, as confirmed in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Krishna bhakti kaile sarva-karma kritahaya. If one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is automatically accomplished. Om jnāti vinandasya jananjana shalakaya chakshuram militam jena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Prabhupada ki jai. So this is an example we have heard hundreds and hundreds of times. Prabhupada uses this example. If you give water to the root of the tree, then the trunk and the branches and the twigs and the leaves, they all get nourishment. It's pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. You give water to the roots. You can wash the leaves sometimes, gives a little relief, but it's not going to satisfy the twigs and the branches, right? Everybody understands. If you want to satisfy the whole tree and make it grow, then you give water at the base. You give water at the roots. Pretty simple. In the soil is all the nutrients that the tree requires, and the tree takes up those nutrients. When it's watered and the soil is watered, and all those nutrients become available, then the tree takes up the nutrients, and every part of the tree is satisfied. It's not very difficult to understand. So Śrīla Prabhupada is making the point that where is it? I can't find it. Anyway, he's making the point that Krishna is like the tree. He's like the roots of the tree. The tree is there standing, and the roots, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is like the roots of the tree. So if you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he's the source of the whole creation, he's the source of everything, he's the original personality. So if you worship him, then everyone else in creation becomes satisfied, including the demigods. So there's a big difference there. Demigods have their separate existence, but they are dependent on the existence of the personality of Godhead. Whereas Krishna is not dependent on the existence of the demigods, right? That makes him supreme, that makes him original. He's not at all dependent. In the same way Prabhupada is saying, some people say that karma and jnana, the process of working and the process of jnana, developing knowledge, is only successful, it depends on success by being mixed with bhakti. But then some people also say that bhakti also requires some activity and some knowledge to be successful. Bhakti also requires karma and jnana to be successful. You need to know what you're doing, you need to know philosophy, you need to know things, you need to be performing devotional service. So there's also karma and jnana in bhakti. Right? So not strictly true. The karma and activities and knowledge are there in bhakti for those who are not qualified to just remember the Lord. They cannot just focus on the Lord because of their agitated senses, agitated mind, because of material desire. They cannot focus. Otherwise, Krishna says to Arjuna, it's very simple. Just remember me and never forget. Samadhi, that's all you have to do. Just think of Krishna 24 hours and never forget him. That's all you have to do. Right? So not dependent on anything else, just like the holy name. The holy name is not dependent on anything else to deliver the conditioned souls back to Godhead. The holy name in itself is all that's required to go back to Godhead. Where there's some process of sadhana, right? They may help, but in themselves, they're not enough to deliver you back to Godhead. Just becoming a vegetarian is a help, but it won't take you back to Godhead. The goal of life is not to become a vegetarian, right? It's just another aspect. It's another tool that helps us come to a higher consciousness to understand things. So we use it, but it's not in itself enough. Whereas the holy name in itself requires nothing else. So this is the point that Prabhupada is making here. Rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead means automatically serving all the demigods. They're already completely satisfied, whatever they're doing. So whatever responsibility you have to society, responsibility we have to the demigods, to our family members, to our parents, everyone has so many obligations to fulfill. But once someone has taken up the process of devotional service, they're no longer responsible on an external platform. No longer responsible because by the practice of bhakti, one becomes delivered, and they also get delivered. Right? They also become delivered. Those personalities, even without perfecting Krishna consciousness and giving up material desire, just because of your activity, you're able to deliver them back to Godhead. That's a pretty good benediction. Therefore, Prabhupada says this is the highest welfare activity. Many times devotees like that, they struggle. Oh, I have some, I don't know, I should take care of my family, my mother, my father, I have responsibility, society. What should I do? I cannot give up. I have to help them. Prabhupada many times told, you just become a pure devotee. What greater help can you do for them to help them stop the process of birth and death? Right? It's the greatest benediction you can give to your family members or to society, helping people in the society understand Krishna and they overcome birth and death. What greater welfare activity can there be? There's a permanent effect, a permanent result. Whereas by performing humanitarian works, Prabhupada says, modern society is involved in various types of philanthropic, humanitarian work, and so on. But people do not know that these activities will never be successful unless Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is brought into the center. So we may perform so many humanitarian works that are helping people externally, but because that help is toward the material body and the body is temporary, therefore that help is also temporary. It's not long-lasting. Even if you give someone food today, tomorrow he's again hungry. You're not going to feed him every day. And even if you do feed him every day, there's a lot of other people still hungry. You can't feed them all every day, right? Although probably if the world's leaders were a little more united and organized, we could probably feed the whole world every day. They could probably do that, actually. But because of division and politics and so many problems going on, therefore, some people are starving and some people are throwing away food. Mismanagement, you can say, some serious mismanagement. At the time of Maharaj Priyarata, at the time of Maharaj Prithu, at the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira, there was nobody hungry. Right? There was no one hungry. A Brahmana would sit down for his meal and first he would go outside in the street. Is there anybody hungry? Anybody needs anything? That was the system. Before you would eat, you would go and call in the street. Anybody hungry? Of course, Yamraj was testing King Rantidev like that. And he was calling and then he was sending people. Rantidev was a king, but he gave away everything. In fact, he was so skinny, he starved himself because whatever he had in the kingdom, he gave to everybody, gave everybody everything. And he had nothing left, even no food left. His own family were hungry because he kept on giving it all away to everyone else. It's a nice pastime where Yamraj is testing him. Rantidev came in different ways to test how much will he give away. He gave away. Somebody came and gave away half the food. He had half left, so he sent someone else. So he gave him half of what he had. So he had a quarter left. Then he sent someone else, and he gave a half of that. He had 1/8. They kept on sending people until there was nothing left. Nothing left. And Ranti said, "Take me." Gave everything away. So very rare. Pure devotee. He's such a pure devotee by his action. Everybody in his kingdom, whoever lived in the kingdom of Rantidev became pure devotee. Every single personality in his kingdom was a pure devotee. Wow, it's amazing. Huh? Anyway, nice pastime in the Bhagavatam. The point is there. You have to bring Krishna in the center. If you're doing humanitarian works, it's good. People need help. Day to day, they need help. We recognize they need help. But it should be Krishnaized. We should Krishnaize it. If we're giving them food, we make it first prasadam. And we give them prasad. They become satisfied that day with food in their belly, but at the same time they get that spiritual potency of prasadam, that purification of prasadam. Whatever we're doing in our life, acting and moving here and there, we are creating currents. Wherever we go, whatever we speak creates a ripple. Whatever we do, it creates a movement. And that has effects. And they say, drop a stone in the water and then those concentric circles come. So many, a bigger stone and a bigger circles come out. And a huge rock, then big stones. You see sometimes in Antarctica, Arctic, when the ice breaks off, huge big piece of ice breaks off and then it creates a wave. A huge wave comes. So the same thing with us. When we are moving around in the world, we are creating ripples everywhere. Everything we do creates an effect. And sometimes his ripples move and my ripples move and then they collide together and creates even more disturbance. So whatever we are doing in society is creating some disturbance for us and for others. And whatever those ripples we create, it has effect. It had effect on us and it affects others in different ways. Sometimes it has a good effect, sometimes it has a bad effect. But that karma, that effect is called karma, and that karma is binding us to the material world. So you may be doing good work, you may be doing some karma, jnana, you may be doing some pious work, but it's still creating ripples. And those ripples are creating effect. And that effect is giving us karma. And because we have karma is due to us, then again we have to take a birth in whatever species. Luckily a human form, maybe not, maybe in the lower forms, maybe in the animal kingdom, you come back in a lower form, maybe in the hellish planets, who knows, according to your karma. So how to move in the world where you create no ripple, you don't create any movement. The pure devotee is able to move through society and doesn't create, there's no ripple, there's no effect by the pure devotee moving through society. We have to come to that platform. That means devotee. And there's no karma. When you are free from karma, then you're eligible to get free of the material world. You have no reaction left. So then you can go out of the material world. You're eligible to enter the spiritual world. I'm not talking about heaven. Heaven is also within the material world, Shvagaloka. It is also another kind of ripple effect. And therefore the demigods, though they are great personalities, they also suffer the same conditions we have. They also have some fear, much less than us. They also have some desire, some attachments, just as we do. So they also create some ripples and some effects. Therefore, by their karma, they also have to, again, take a birth. Everyone's locked into this. So the process of bhakti, Prabhupada is talking about here, means how to move in the world where you don't create any ripples. You don't create any karma. Karma-free. That's why many times you see the ISKCON Govindas, and it says, karma-free diet. A karma-free diet. Someone gave this term, karma-free diet. You can eat without karma. Oh, if I kill a cow, if I kill another animal, I get severe karma. But if I kill a tomato, there's no karma. Oh yeah, there is. There's karma in killing tomatoes and killing eggplants and peas, right? There's karma. There's a ripple. You create a ripple. It's not as big a ripple. It's like a small pebble compared to killing a cow. That's like throwing a boulder. You're going to get some serious reactions for that. But there's reaction. Right? So, karma-free diet. How is that? Karma-free diet. Because even though we are ending the life of that tomato, but because we're offering it to God, right? In respect of God, this is your property, this is your food, we're offering it to you. And mercifully, he leaves it behind for us to take as prasadam. Because it's linked to Krishna, then there's no effect. By taking that tomato, there is no ripple, there's no effect, there is no karma, akarma. Actions in the material world which create no effect, called akarma, free from any karma, either punya, either papa. Some people say sinful activity is bad, and doing good works, punya, pious activities, is good. But for devotee, both are the same. Both are not good for us. On a material platform, on an external bodily platform, yes, it's better to help someone than beat them. There's no doubt. Better to do pious activity than sinful activity. But ultimately, on the internal platform, both are binding you to the material world. So both of them are not good, right? This is the science. Bhakti means the science of how to move in the world without creating any effect, without creating karma, without creating any effect. Because if you do some good work, even for Krishna, and you take the benefit, yes, it was me, I did it, then you may get some effect. See? Not supposed to be there. You may get some effect if you claim proprietorship on something. Yes, this was successful because of me, because I'm so intelligent and because I'm so great. Then you deserve to get some effect. Therefore, Krishna talks in the Gita about nishkarma. It's nothing, it's not going to take you back to Godhead. Nishkarma karma. Right? But it's the level to reach where you're performing action without any desire for any benefit. Right? It's the beginning platform. At least someone has to come to that platform. Though I'm moving in the world, I'm performing action in the world, but I'm not taking any benefit. I'm not trying to benefit from that action. It's the beginning of Krishna consciousness. Because then the next question is, then who are you doing it for? Why are you doing it? Oh, I'm doing it for the pleasure of the Lord. That is real nishkarma. Just saying, not my benefit, and keeping big bank account, It doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't work. Nishkam means having no attachment, not claiming any benefit, not claiming any result, but working for the pleasure of the Lord. That has to be there. Qualification for the pleasure of Krishna. Arjuna is fighting on the battlefield. I don't want anything. I don't want a kingdom. I don't want to fight. Renouncing the idea of fighting. And Krishna chastises him. You sound intelligent, but you're speaking like a fool. You're a king, you're a kshatriya, you're a prince. You should fight, but without desire to attain a kingdom, to attain followers, to attain wealth. You just fight because that's your nature. That's what you're good at. So you do your duty in my service, as I order you. Don't forget that second half of the shloka. It's not that I just do my duty and everything is good and fill my pockets. Right? That is not nishkam. Nishkam means I do my duty without any desire for result, according to the order of the Lord. What is pleasing to the Lord. That's the beginning of the process of bhakti, how to move in the world without creating any effect, creating any disturbance for ourselves and for others. It's not so easy thing. Not an easy thing. We work in the world, we perform some actions, we just, even by speaking something, it creates effect. Well, I didn't do anything. I just said, I just said to this guy, idiot, I chastised him. I didn't beat him up, what's the big deal? But it has effect, right? There is effect. He gets disturbed. And if he's disturbed, then you have reaction, right? Why did you do it? I did it because I felt like it. Because I'm sick of the guy. That's disturbing me. He disturbed me, so I disturbed him back. So if you have that consciousness, then you're going to create ripples. It's going to create effect. He's going to be affected, and then he will affect you back. And finally, there's two tidal waves coming together. It's a big splash, right? It becomes a big mess. End up with a nuclear war. That's what happens, right? China and America. I'll splash you. I'll splash you back. I'll send my jet fighter. I'll send my jet. Right? That's how it goes. This goes on, creating effect. So this is here describing. Prabhupada is saying, you don't have to do all this. If everybody would just come to the platform of understanding God. We understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other religions have different names. It's the same God, Prabhupada said. It's not American God and the Chinese. Oh, they don't have a God. The American God and the Indian God. It's not like the different gods here, there. The Mohammedan God, right? Allah's a different personality. Krishna's a different personality. Prabhupada said God is the same God. Culturally, different places, they have a different name, but it's just the same person they're referring to is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. God. Right? But it's not like that. People become sectarian. No, my God, your God. My God is good. Your God is bad. Right? Two wars going on. Both armies are praying to their God. God, we're doing the right things like that. So, here Prabhupada is saying, if everybody would just center their life on God, whatever their understanding they have, at least center their life on God, then there'll be no more effect, right? Everybody's working with their consciousness, and that's called Varnashram Dharma, Daivi Varnashram. That's what it is. The whole of society centered on God. That was the king's job. He didn't have any other job. He'd take his army, roam around the country, and make sure everybody's following Varnashram principles. That was all he did. And when he did that, the whole society was peaceful. Everybody was happy. Everybody had food. Everybody had work. Everybody had their necessities of life. The water in the root of the tree. And the whole society became happy. So these Rajarishis, that's all they did. Maharaj Parikshit, roaming around the country on his horse, making sure everybody's following Dharma, Varnashram. That's all he was doing. And then he saw Kali beating the bull. the personality of Dharma, and broken 3 legs and 1 left, standing in the Kali Yuga, truthfulness, he became very upset. Oh, I shall kill you and not tolerate. So that's what it means. If there's perfect varnashram in society, then that's the root of the tree being watered. Then there's perfect society. When we read in the Bhagavatam, all these kings who had perfect society, they all had perfect varnashram. They all saw that everybody understood what is varnashram, and everybody followed according to their varna and according to their ashram. All the personalities engaged in a varnashram society are highly elevated. Highly elevated. Shudra, highly elevated. Vaishya, highly elevated. Kshatriya, Brahmana, right? Sannyas, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, highly elevated personalities because they're in the varnashram society, following the principles on varnashram. Varnashram is so powerful. If you follow varnashram for 100 lifetimes, it says in the Skanda Puran, then in your next life, after 100 births, you will take the post of Brahma. It's such an elevated thing, varnashram. If you follow for 100 births, you become eligible to be Brahma, the head of the universe. Right? It's not some simple thing. But of course, we don't understand much these days. And when we think, oh, someone said, oh, he's Sudra. Sudra means he doesn't take a bath. Oh, Sudra, he don't take bath. He does all indespicable activities. No, outside of varnashram, there are so many. Chandala, Malecha, first comes Malecha, then the Chandalas, and then the Yavanas. There are so many categories outside of varnashram. They had no place, have no place in a varnashram society. The kings would sometimes, personalities like that, they were outside of varnashram, they would banish them. Go to other country. You can't live in my kingdom if you're not following varnashram. Right? Unfortunately, the leaders of today, they invite them. Oh, you are not following varnashram? You're full of nonsense and it's all about money and power? Please come. You're most welcome. So society has become like that. So anyway, this is the idea. How to perform bhakti, water the root of the tree, put Krishna consciousness in the middle of everything in our lives so that we don't create any effect, we don't create any karma. That is the science of bhakti. Any questions or any comments? Yes.
So comparing and contrasting the pious activities with bhakti. So for example, when you take the holy name of Krishna, it is bhakti, pure bhakti. And the Lord Krishna says, adhaḥ-śākham, so there is no destruction, whatever that progress you make. But would there be certain situations where taking the holy name would reduce to a pious activity rather than
taking the holy name would reduce to become a pious activity in some circumstance? No. No, the holy name is the holy name. There's no circumstance. Depending, Bhaktivinoda Thakur does talk about in the Harinam Chintamani that in the marketplace of the holy name, I should say, in descriptions there, he talks about the name is never contaminated, the name is always pure. But depending on who receives it, if he's contaminated, then it has a different effect. And depending who's giving it, also, if he's not fully pure, therefore it has a different effect. May not have the same effect, though the holy name itself is never contaminated. But the receiver may not receive it completely because of his contamination. And then the person who is giving the name, if he's not pure, he may not be able to give you the whole pure name. Therefore, Caitanya-caritāmṛta says, one should take initiation from a Mahabhagavat, right? Pure devotee, because he's going to give you, he's got that potency. He has the whole 100%. He's going to give you 100%. No, there's no contamination there. So the name in itself is pure enough. But unfortunately, we sometimes mess things up. But that's only on a beginning stage. Ultimately, the holy name is so powerful. Even if it comes with, we get the name with so much material desire. If someone just sticks to the name, they become purified eventually. It may take longer. In some cases, may take less. In other cases, depending on our level of contamination. But if you just take the name and stick to the holy name, then the holy name is powerful. It will purify from any situation, any existence, any level of karma, any level of confusion or desire. A holy name cannot be stopped in that sense. So we look at that. We look at the long term, not the short term. Long term, there's no question of not being successful. If someone takes the name, there's no question of not going back to Godhead. It's a done deal, eventually. But how long it takes, that depends on how serious we become. That's all.
I need one clarification regarding karma mentioned in this verse. One says karma. So karma is not niškām karma, right? It is mentioned. Bhakti is independent of karma and jnana. So Krishna also says that you cannot remain without working, even a second.
Yeah.
So this karma which is mentioned here is not niškām.
No, yes, no. Nishkarma is a platform we need to come to just to get to begin bhakti, just to develop that mentality, at least to come to that level of not desiring everything in the world around us, working selflessly. But ultimately, nishkarma is not part of bhakti. Bhakti is something else. Bhakti means working activities for Krishna's pleasure, solely for Krishna's pleasure. So yeah, karma means activities, performing activities. That's all. But even then, even when we're in devotional service, if we are doing some devotional service, but sometimes we become affected with the idea of, like I was saying, that, oh, I met this person and I convinced this person so perfectly. We take the credit for work, where actually Krishna is doing everything. Oh yes, I did this project, I did this thing, I did that, I designed something, I wrote this beautiful book, I led this wonderful kirtan. Nobody heard a kirtan like my kirtan. So it's like that. Sometimes we tend to do that. It's our nature. We'll become purified by the name, but still there's a contamination is there. So we should still try and develop some nishkarma mentality that Krishna's everything, Krishna's doing everything. Someone disturbs us, rather than seeing the Lord's hand, then we blame that person. Right? We see, oh, it's his fault. It's all his fault. I was not successful because of this person. Right? But the devotee sees, no, it's Krishna's arrangement, Krishna's plan, making me more surrendered. Krishna's making me humble, Krishna's teaching me some lesson. I have to learn something from this. I have some difficulty. Krishna's trying to teach me something. What is he trying to teach us? How to surrender. What do we have to surrender? Our independence. That's why brahmachari life is such a great benediction. Because when you're brahmachari, live in the temple, you don't have anything else. And you're fully dependent, even for toothbrush and toothpaste. You're fully dependent. You don't have to pay your electricity bill. You don't have anything, right? Not independent. You're brahmachari. You want to go to Vrindavan for the weekend, you have to get permission. You have to ask. If you want to go out, oh, I want to go to Mansarovar. For what? I'm Mansarovar. What do you mean, for what? You have to tell for what. Brahmachari means you have to say for what, why you're going. And then the authority may say, no, you can't go. I'm a grown man. I'm a 30-year-old, 25, 30-year-old. I want to go to Mansarovar. I don't have to tell you why I'm going, right? That's our independent mentality. So brahmachari is very healthy. Someone who spends some time in the temple, they get that training that we're dependent on Krishna. Healthy thing. Otherwise, grihastha means independent. I do what I like. Don't tell me what to do. Who do you think you are? You're not so smart. You're not so great. You know, I'm not so foolish. That means grihastha mentality is like that. So Krishna, okay, you think like that? Let me give you a little more salt in the wound. How do you think like that? Burning? Is it good? Okay. Sorry. So Krishna puts us in difficulties and situations to make us realize we have to surrender. Surrender to Him, surrender to the spiritual masters, surrender to the process of devotional service, surrender to the society, surrender to the holy name. We have to surrender. That's all. Not easy. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam, Śrīla Prabhupada ki. Surrender to Facebook.